you a whole bunch of text, and it's basically just the HTML that's going to come out. It's basically the HTML markup. And this is a term called curling. And I don't know why it's called curling. Maybe it's called CURL, or I don't know exactly why. But basically what it does is just makes an HTTP request to the server, and it just serves back HTML. And for me, this was like kind of like a moment when it all came together of what it really means to crawl the web or have any web scrapers to come in. And that's basically what we're going to be talking about today, is web scrapers. So web scrapers are basically when you pretty much just take HTML and you put on a bunch of hooks and you figure out basically any information you want to extrapolate from a website. And it's basically just taking data extraction. And it's basically taking out the manual process of going through a website by website and looking for reference points of, say, for a price or whatnot, and getting that information and kind of using the machine or computer program to do that automatically. And so in this 10 minutes today, I'm just going to give you a quick overview, introduction to how scrapers work. And so you're going to just have a basic high-level understanding of basically what scrapers are and how they work. Since this is a coding class, I'll try to give a code example that'll go through like a node example of this, and also some potential uses or examples in the real world that you can probably use this for and why it's useful. And it's a technical difficulty there. I was working with transitions, so. So how does it work? So before I start talking about it, I try to put as much research as I could in here, so just in case, like, it's just going to give you a basic understanding of everything. And so I'm pretty sure I'm going to be missing a lot of other techniques or different ways or programs or libraries that are out there that could make it easier. So just with that, it's basically broken down into 3 steps. And the first step is making the request to the server, like I showed at the beginning, like a curl. And then pretty much you get all that HTML and text, and you pretty much index the response, and you put it into a certain way to be able to parse through it. And then you pretty much find any hooks or reference points that you want to put it through. And so potential uses. So anyone know who this guy is?
Easy. Kanye West.
Kanye West. And do you guys know what this is here?
Sneakers.
Yeah, sneakers. And they're really ridiculously expensive sneakers. So the use case here is they retail about $350, but there was basically, when they got released in December, I'm sure this is not going to offend anyone because I don't think anyone's a sneakerhead here. But basically, these are the types of people that would wait in line pretty much. Yeah, they pretty much wait. They wake up at 4 a.m. They pretty much wait probably 5 hours to get a raffle to see if they can even get, to get in line to get a shoe, basically. And so it retails at $350. And then, so in an instance that, hey, I want to actually buy these sneakers, but I didn't get a chance to wait. So what do I do? What if I really wanted to buy these sneakers? And so what can I do? You can go on third-party sites and marketplaces. You look at all these different sites, but you don't want to pay like the premium. So with anything with a scarce resource, generally like the price is going to vary a lot. So you can go from, if it retails at $350, it could go from $600 to $1,000 to $1,500. So you look at all these sites, third-party market sites, and you look at basically trying to find the best price. And so like, hey, like I don't have all the time in the world to just like look through all these sites and keep waiting until I can find the price that I want. So the use case here is, hey, like let me put in a whole bunch of hooks for prices, and then I can aggregate all this stuff together. Set up a cron job was kind of like, like a set interval, basically hitting all these sites and making sure, I'm getting all the prices. And when my requirements are met and the prices are met, then, I can get alerted an email, or I can have it all aggregated into one area and actually just buy the product. And so that's a really, I just kind of used a basic example, but that's basically how it works. But in reality, more useful things in the world are basically, so a lot of times when you're looking at using APIs provided by a company, sometimes there's rate limits or there's limitations to it. So a lot of times when you're in a business in a very competitive environment and you need information from your competitors or whatnot, you probably need to create, it gives you the ability to create custom APIs and any kind of analytics or tools. As the web gets bigger and bigger, as it's always getting bigger, so with each iteration of the web, there's always opportunities to gather new data and be able to provide more data. And obviously, there's also many other applications you can use for it. And so now there's like possible ways you can basically, what is that? Scrape through data. And so regex parsing is your typical just look for certain text fields, and then as it meets the criteria, then you can pull that data out. HTML parsing or DOM parsing is when you kind of recreate, take the HTML, you parse it through, and you recreate like a jQuery-like environment where you can basically reference it like you would a class or ID, everything within a class. And then last but not least, semantic annotation. This is how search engines use to index their data, is like they index different parts of the web, is they'll take the keywords of metadata that, if you look in the header, there's usually meta tags for title, certain key ones like title, can't remember name, and certain images, they all have names and stuff. So they all have like metadata that you can pull and you can index through that too. So, and last but not least, obviously nowadays it's not just static data. There's a lot of JavaScript and whatnot. So there's these things called headless browsers with basically Phantom.js. I'm sure some of you have heard of Phantom.js and Zombie.js, which are basically kind of ways for you to say, for instance, log into a page. We kind of use it in our tests a little bit for, what's that, not Mocha, but Jasmine. So Jasmine, when we try to spoof like a logged in agent, we're basically using some sort of headless browser here. And yeah, so I'll do a quick, simple demo here. So I have it broken down here. Basically we have in our first server one here is basically the request that we're making. So this is basically just to show you how simple it is to set up. So the URL here is basically the request that we want to make it to. We're using a library called Cheerio here, which basically spoofs kind of a jQuery, like gives you like jQuery like capabilities within your node environment here. So after you make the request, after you get that big curl or that text of HTML, you basically kind of set it to a $sign here, and then you can pretty much look for different parts of the website here. And so I have one part here. So basically in here, this is basically after you figure out what reference points you want, you go in here and you can figure out. So in our case here, we want to look for title, the ratings, and ratings and release year. So what we do is here we put in whatever we want, and then server 2 here. Basically, this is how we reference whatever we want to use to reference it. So it kind of works exactly like how you would, similar to like jQuery. After you set that all up, you can just run this, and then it should give you and then so once you run it, and then you can run it in your browser. And then what it will do is it'll look in IMDb, and then for this one in particular, it's looking for Iron Man 3, and it looks at the date here, the rating. And so this is just for one instance. So like say you wanted to run for many, many more instances, you can have it all pull into one data or one file. And that's basically, it's pretty easy to do. Obviously, it's basic. But in general, it should give you just an overlay of how it works. And so, and that's it.
That one page of the code before that one?
This one? This one?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Is this easier to see here? So yeah, I mean, I'm done with my presentation. You guys have any questions?
We got about minutes for questions.
It's pretty straightforward, right?